Hello, it's Hebby, and it's time to continue on the journey to make every Wings of Fire character into a plushie. It was also my birthday, somewhat recently.
Look how glossy that purple icing is, though.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. I'm sorry, Twilight. A My Little Pony cake only gets cooler the older you get, just so you guys know. Anyways, because it was my birthday, I decided not to do these three losers, Squid, Ochre, and Viper, to complete the false dragonets of destiny. I'm pushing them off to the next Wings of Fire video because when I look at them, I feel anger. And I wanted to do a more exciting Wings of Fire character who doesn't raise my blood pressure. I actually mentioned Ochre in the very first Wings of Fire video I made as a character I point blank refused to create, and it is because I despise him in a special way. You'll have to wait for that. But there was a character in the list of F names I was particularly excited for. So as a present to myself, I'm doing her instead of the other guys. Also, here's an update on the Wild Round characters. People tell me in the comments which random side character they want, and I put a tally on the sheet, and whoever wins the top spot before the next Wild Round gets ceremonially made into a plushie. We have Tau and Cobra Lily on the back list because they were almost a tie for the last Wild Round, but the rest of these characters are free game. The patterns I'm making are up online for free in the link in the description. Go and make your own. And in the last videos, we have made Arctic, Anemone, Auklet, Albatross, Blazeburn, Blister, Blue, Battle Winner, Calamity, Clearsight, Coral Chameleon, Clay, Cricket, Cliff, Ruby, Carnelian, Killerbox, Dune, Dusky, Darkstalker, that one nearly killed me, all of the Seawing Princes that aren't Turtle in a collab with my fellow creatives, sorry Turtle, and Dragon, Fatespeaker, and Flame. We have also made Whirlpool, the most horrible dragon in the whole series, and it's time to let him know that. But since the votes from the Whirlpool Hate Club members, which have been locked in during the production of this video, have turned up as a tie, I shall be flipping a coin to decide his punishment. And shot down with my Nerf gun it is.
That one.
Whirlpool is resilient.
I know, he won't come off!
Person in
Go,
the way.
Mum! Oh, come on. He's teetering on the edge! Come on! No, we're out of bullets again! Last try. This is the charm. Come on! No!
You missed!
No! You're gonna get hit by the ricochet. This is a struggle. Thank you to my Whirlpool haters. 8-Bit Beetle, The Wait Baronet Fluffle, Skywing Dad, Phoenix Fire, and Ninja Kitty Awakens. Oh my god! Just give me this one bullet.
Use both guns and shoot it at once.
Yes! And now, since I am skipping forward to the one I wanted to do, it's time for freedom. Spoilers for Book 15 of Wings of Fire, which is the most recent book of the mainline series. I'm basically gonna spoil, like, the whole thing. If you haven't read it or seen some sort of discussion about it in a meme format online, it's gonna get spoiled and discussed here. So, like, if you don't want to hear that or you're not ready, you're just gonna have to sit this one out, I think. Okay, now for everyone still here, we're gonna get into the spoilers immediately. If you can't remember Freedom, she is the dragon initially named Lizard who is buried with Cottonmouth in the ancient throne room, and who is merged with the breath of evil and the consciousness of Cottonmouth, the human villain mastermind and that evil plant. Freedom doesn't have any official art of any kind, but in the story she's described like so. Freedom had brittle, shiny orange and green scales and 2 green wings that curved like leaves. She resembled a combination of several tribes. And she's also very small. I tried to make her the same slightly shorter scale like I did to Dusky, but honestly in hindsight I can't even tell if it made a difference. Whatever, doesn't matter. Freedom's physical body is so small it fits on Cottonmouth's lap between his hands, which is actually insane if we consult the canonical size of humans in this universe. Once again, I am pulling up the Rose and Smolder pic. By the way, Thorn on the left is described as small, so we can assume that Smolder is average. God, the size charts. Anyways, that would make Freedom the size of a cat, and not a large cat like Dragon, house cat sized. And since we had the experience with the scaling already with Dragon the cat, so confusing, We can increase the size of Freedom, just like we did for the cat, and wind up with a dragon who is still ridiculously small. About palm-sized for a dragon. Probably on par with the scale of a newborn dragonette, like Orklet, which could very much be how old she was when she died, but I'm gripping my temples in real life here because the scaling in Wings of Fire kinda hurts, and I have already talked about it for like half the Dragon the Cat video. But she's only slightly smaller than Dusky, and it's just insane to me that Dusky, at 2 years old, would be newborn dragonette size, so I point blank refuse to acknowledge it. Not to mention Freedom's physical body is literally rotting underground in a cave covered in vines. The only part of her which is alive is her consciousness, and since that's how we get to know the character, I'm going to make her like whatever I want and say she's larger than a speck. Anyways, let's go. Whatever happens, happens. Freedom has leaf speak and is similar to a leafwing on the pattern front. She's like mostly a leafwing in shape, if not color. So, I guess I already have a leafwing pattern equivalent to post up online with tutorial, but I am still going to make Cobra Lillian Tau regardless. The leafwing pattern is going to be up after this video is released. So, for Freedom's color scheme and design, I actually wanted to pull in some design elements from her mum, both color-wise and tribe-wise. Also, I have a theory about her. Freedom's mother is described as an orange, rusty, copper-green color, which is like, first of all, a lot of colors, but also not strictly distinct to a tribe, but kind of leaning Skywing. Some of the dragons described before the scorching had obvious descendants, such as one of the dragons having a tail barb. There's also a cool pre-scorching dragon with a grim face who is black with speckled red scales all over them. But as for my theory, Freedom's mother is kind of implied to be the first dragon queen. She's shown rallying the others to her cause, and being 5 times larger than a fairly average size. And in the Guide to the Dragon World, the Dragon Queen, although not physically described, is mentioned to be older than most dragons and possessing immense strength and cunning. Which, aligns perfectly with the noteworthy size of Freedom's mother. Dragons just get bigger and bigger as they age. As well as her pure destructive power and intelligence. She knows she couldn't just fight the humans herself. She could easily destroy what she wanted, but it could happen again if the dragons didn't unite. So she started the scorching to take the world back for dragonkind. I feel confident saying these two are the same dragons. Strong theory in my mind, and pretty cool for Freedom. First ever dragon princess. Good for her. Anyways, that's why I made her spine rusty brown colors, like dear old mother. For the spine, I wanted to mention that the leafwing frill does not extend fully down the entire length of the spine, unlike the sea wing, and has these little leaf-shaped bits towards the tail. Anyways, the reason I was so excited for Freedom is not just because she's unique design-wise, which I hope I have made clear, but Freedom's story made me cry. Yep, I have no shame. I read about the little dragon sacrificing her life for the good of the world and quietly sniffle-cried whilst crammed on an airplane between 2 businessmen in suits on an early morning flight. Freedom really is the most sad dragon to have ever lived and died in the whole series, 100%. And the business guys? I mean, they probably didn't know what to expect. It was very emotional, okay? And I am here now to discuss this. In my humble opinion, the 3rd arc of Wings of Fire goes hard. The ending, although sad, satisfied me to the same degree as every other arc ending in the series, and that's not to say it's perfect, just that it is what it is. Because listen, I think it's just a symptom of the way in which the stories are structured. Each book is from a new perspective and there are 5 books per arc. What happens in the writing of each book usually follows the narrative escalation. You've definitely seen this diagram in English or literature class. Shout out to my fellow former English lit students. But each arc does not follow this format. Since the final book in the arc, which would, if the whole thing was a single narrative, be the conclusion, is not the conclusion. It has its own narrative escalation, reveals, whatever else, and then it also needs to contain the entire ending to the complete arc preceding it in the last third of its book. Yeah, that's to say that some of the weaknesses I see talked about for the 15th book are definitely present in the 5th and 10th book as arc enders themselves. Like, I would definitely not be the first to point out that the finished Darkstalkers story is And then the dragon, who was set up to be really smart, was tricked by an illiterate 4-year-old into eating a berry which magically, literally magically, solves all of his problems and erases his personality, whilst not so subtly implying that Icewing blood and being related to his father, like genetically, was what actually turned Darkstalker evil from day one. And yeah, if any of the rest of you have a family member you are genetically related to, which you really dislike, then the thought that you have gotten some kind of curse from them and will become them, even if it skips a generation, keeps you up at night. So yeah, I think all the final books in an arc tend to suffer slightly on the narrative front, because you can't dedicate the whole book to declining action, as would be expected of a conclusion, leading to final books sort of staggering around sometimes. Forgiven, because endings are hard to write, and multiple book series endings in this particular scope are doubly hard to write. So it's stricken from the record to me. I loved the third arc overall, and the introduction of Freedom's character was interesting, even if there were other routes that could have been explored for a villain. I do hate Cottonmouth though. He's the exact opposite of what I wanted from our first real human villain. He's totally wimpy and unthreatening in the first and only book he is shown in, because of the fact it's from Luna's perspective, and she is separated from the action and watching the real daring escape and fighting stuff like she's watching the news on TV. Anyways, but I'll still take Freedom. It is actually, despite what I think is a baffling choice, which I shall touch on further when we get up to the letter L, narratively imperative that our POV character be taken away from the cool action parts into a depressing mind space, so that she can convince Freedom that dragons aren't evil. And to prove this, Luna allows Freedom to read her memories and see that she is good-hearted. Freedom also reads the minds of Moonwatcher, Lynx, Kibbley, Sundew, Pineapple, and Dusky. Are you noticing a pattern in these dragons? They're kinda weenie. Well, Sundew is a little spicy, and so is Tsunami. But Sundew gave Freedom her memories of seeing Willow for the first time, and Tsunami gave Freedom her memories of playing in a river. So sappy. I feel like Freedom could have randomly selected 7 dragons and come to the opposite conclusion. What if she read the minds of Albatross, Jerboa the First, Scarlet, Blister, Blazeburn, Whirlpool, and Morrowseer? Lots of evil dragons are out there, 100% for sure. Maybe not Blaze though, actually. Freedom's gonna look in her brain and it's just gonna be solid nothing. I was just going through the Sandwing sisters and let her slip in. But the other guys are pretty darn messed up. And if she'd read their brains, then, Freedom would have turned evil and they would have all been screwed. But yeah, Luna and the gang, etc., etc., are good dragons. They were literally selected to save the world by their queens. It's kind of the exception to the rule, to be honest. It seems to me like Freedom was at least a little bit right about her outlook on the world and of other dragons. Because, Luna is basically going, no, all dragons are good inside and whatever, it's just inside. And yeah, but they're also a little evil. Even the background characters in Jade Mountain Academy are interested in violent fights and think excitedly about Winter killing Moon and ripping her face off. And they're at Jade Mountain, learning to be friends. I'm not even going to mention what it'd be like inside of Whirlpool's brain. Luna is right. Every individual dragon is complex, but also sometimes they kill their wife and kids, and sometimes skin and stuff other dragons and keep the skins in a tower, and also sometimes make them fight to the death and kill their fathers in front of an approving audience. I'm just saying, a lot of dragons are pretty messed up in this book series, and Luna would probably be more accurate saying that dragons operate on their own logical paths, and sometimes that leads them to abuse, injure, and kill dragons for their own benefit or sometimes pleasure. But she shouldn't say that, because then Freedom would be right. Because a lot of dragons are vengeful and powerful. Like, it's only in the latest arc, the third one, where the dragons have been less murderous and cruel. Okay, I should clarify. A lot of them are cruel in the third arc. A lot of Highwings are mean, but they're more like societally cruel to the underclass, or callous and disrespectful to their Silkwing servants, or just plain rude. They're not hosting slow death tournaments in an arena with hundreds of onlookers and putting dragon heads on spikes in their bloodstained fortresses. It's a lot less mindlessly evil. Maybe Luna didn't see that, but I did. Oh, except Jerboa. She's a third arc addition to the absolute worst of the worst list there. Bottom line is that Luna is really playing with a marked deck here. But she has to try, I guess. Anyways, Now we have to make the leafy-shaped wing parts of Freedom. Since they need a bit of an explanation, I'm starting with sewing around the outline, of course. Then I'm turning it right side out and getting the wing vein, which is a unique shape and reaches the furthest point of the wing with one above and one below. You know, like a leaf. And then after those are on, we sew some little lines from the vein to the outsides of the wings in whatever pattern your heart desires. Or you can copy this one. It's just to make it more leafish. Once they're sewn up, I get some fabric paint and accentuate the lines. I guess you could do it straight on the material with the fabric paint without sewing anything, but I don't know, free will, do whatever you wish. And then we're putting it aside to dry. Freedom kind of thinks everyone is evil, but what about her own evil score? Freedom believes she should remain both lazy and self-centered because it's what everyone else is doing. And she was taught to do this because Cottonmouth is like that, and she was never shown love by anyone else. Or by Cottonmouth, to be frank. But they needed each other to survive. They did despise each other for that. Honestly, it's so sad she never felt a loving touch in her short life. But anyways, her consciousness has remained stuck to Cottonmouth and the plant where she has basically been tortured for the last 5,000 years. Yikes. Despite that, she's willing to sacrifice her life and accept a peaceful death for the good of every animal in the whole world. 0 out of 10 for evil. 12 out of 10 for the making me cry score. So yep, that's that, and it's time for the final detail. Feetsies. And then she's done. It's one sad little dragon who at least gets to be preserved in a plushy form, like Luna said she was going to do with her tapestries. Side note, Freedom said, "Don't make a tapestry of my decaying body," and I made that the background of this video. Whoops, sorry little dragon. Anyways, the size difference is nothing, she's bigger than Dusky. But as shown when Cottonmouth makes lightning shoot out from his hands in the mind space, you can make anything appear the way you want. So let's just say Freedom decided to be larger here. I'm definitely not making the, physical world Freedom because she would be a crumpled up skeleton. Maybe that would be kind of cool, but also oh so brutal. I think Freedom was a good villain / victim for the third arc. And she tied in to the themes of understanding others, of societal fairness and disadvantage, and was a thoroughly creepy addition to the already creepy plant problem. For all the people who wanted zombie dragons in the second arc with Darkstalker resurrecting Clearsight's actual body from the grave, perhaps even me included there, we at least got one kind of zombie dragon. Anyways, I was really excited for Freedom because she's a totally unique character and a pretty devastating gut punch due to the fact that Luna and everyone try their best to save her. What they do looks like it could have worked, but in the end they can't rescue her despite trying so hard. Freedom's kind of one of the first dragons that the main characters in any arc have tried to save the life of on page and failed at. Thank you for watching. That's the conclusion to my thoughts here, but I have additional notes on the third arc ending when we get up to the letter L. I'm also very excited to get there because of Luna, who I have many things to say about. Thank you for giving me a slice of your time watching this video. It means a lot to me, and I hope you have a great time today, or tonight if you're one of the people for whom this video comes out for at like 1 AM. In which case, get to sleep, it's past your bedtime. Shout out to my Patreon members for supporting me with cash monies whilst undergoing this enormous challenge. Exciting things are coming next video, I suppose. Thank you to Kimber, ADH Dream 1409, Kitten Mikey, Samuel Sanchez, Monodeer, Aninka Lamason, Grey, Solvi, Phoenix Fire, I Like the Dumb Bunny Shrimp, Fennec is here, Trooper Cat, Poppy Willow, Indigo, Woilies, Fantasy, Skywing Dad, Jed Gore, Aussie Shark, The Starving Child, Ninja Kitty Awakens, Lime Sharks, Caroline T, Copa, I Love My Fuzzy Kitten, Vanessa and Anara Burrows, Verla, Misty Owl, Rhythm the Raptor, Aliana, T Copper Silver, Miffy, Victoria Toucan, Be the Cat, Racing Wolf, Grey Malcolm, Gatto Catamoose, The Wait Zaranek Fluffle, 8-Bit Beetle, Anonymous Running Dragon, Nicole Sutherland, Danger Noodles Are Cool, and Jamie Fillmore. How is about a wet sloppy dragon kiss from Dragon the Cat?